My name is Elena. I am 29 years old. I live in a coastal city in northern Italy called Livorno. I work in a maritime shipping office. My life was organized and normal. I have a close friend named Margherita. We have known each other since university. 3 years ago, I met a man named Adrian. He worked in an import company. We met in a cafe near the port. We started a direct relationship without complications. He visited me twice a week. He never introduced me to his family. He said they lived in another city and that his relationship with them was tense. I did not pressure him. After 1 year, he started disappearing for days without a clear explanation. He said he was traveling for work. He sent me photos from hotels. I did not verify them. I noticed that he refused calls at certain times. When I asked, he changed the subject. Margherita knew I was in a relationship, but she never saw him. One time I suggested introducing him to her, but he refused, saying he did not like social meetings. I did not suspect much. I focused on my work. At the beginning of summer, Margherita invited me to her wedding. She said she had met a man from Florence named Luca. Their relationship was fast. The engagement lasted only 4 months. She sent me the invitation with the address and date. I asked her for a photo of the groom. She said they wanted to keep details private until the wedding day. I laughed and did not insist. She was happy, and that was enough for me. 1 week before the wedding, Adrian disappeared again. He sent a short message, "I will be out of town for a few days." He did not specify where. I tried calling him. His phone was off. I felt uneasy, but I did not expect anything serious. On the wedding day, I traveled to Florence. The ceremony was in an old hall outside the city. I arrived on time. The hall was full of people. The bride's family had organized everything carefully. There was a seating plan, music, and photographers. I sat with a group of Margherita's friends. I did not know anyone else. I asked about the groom. They said he was in a private room with his friends. After half an hour, the entrance ceremony began. The groom came out first. I looked at him. I stopped moving. It was Adrian. Same face, same voice, same movements. There was no doubt. He stood in front of everyone under the name, Luca Rossi. He was smiling and speaking normally with the guests. He did not look at me. My body felt frozen. I tried to stay calm. I did not approach him. Margherita entered after him. She wore a white dress. She looked happy. She stood next to him. He held her hand. They exchanged short words. The ceremony started. I could not stay seated. I went outside. I sat there for 10 minutes. I opened my phone. I searched for Adrian's number. I sent a message, "Are you in Florence now?" He did not reply. I went back inside. The ceremony ended. Guests started congratulating the couple. I stood in line. When it was my turn, I stepped forward. He looked at me. His face changed for a few seconds, then returned to normal. I said quietly, "Adrian." He did not answer. I said, "I am Elena." He did not deny it. He said calmly, "Not now." Then he turned to the next guest. I did not move. Margherita noticed the tension. She asked me, "Do you know Luca?" I said, "Yes." She paused. She asked, "From where?" I said, "From Livorno." She looked at her husband. He said, "We met in a previous job." He ended the sentence quickly. After the congratulations, I went to the restroom. I called him. This time he answered. He said, "Do not talk here. We will talk after the wedding." I ended the call. I stayed at the wedding. I observed everything. I noticed that some guests called him Luca, and others called him Adrian. He interacted with everyone confidently. He was not nervous. Dinner started. I sat in my place. I did not speak. After an hour, a man sat next to me. He introduced himself as Matteo. He said he had been the groom's friend since childhood. I asked him, "Is his name Luca or Adrian?" He paused. He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I know him as Adrian." He looked around and said quietly, his official name is Luca, but he uses different names for work. I asked, what kind of work? He said, transport companies, temporary contracts, I do not know the details. It was clear he was hiding information. After midnight, the wedding ended. I went outside the hall. I waited for him. After 10 minutes, he came alone. He said, I know you are angry. I said, since when? He said, before I met you. I said, were you with her when you started with me? He was silent, then said, yes. I asked, why 2 names? He said, legal reasons. He did not explain. I said, does she know? He said, no. I said, she will know now. He said, if you do that, you will destroy everything. I said, you already destroyed everything. At that moment, Margarita came out looking for him. She saw us together. She approached and asked, what is happening? I did not speak. I looked at him. He did not answer. I took out my phone. I opened photos of us together. I showed them to her. Photos in my apartment, in restaurants, on trips. The dates were clear, 1 month ago, 1 week ago. She looked at the photos, then at him. She asked, is this true? He did not deny it. He said, it is complicated. She shouted, answer. He said, yes. She stepped back and sat on the ground. She did not cry immediately. She stayed silent for a minute. Then she said, how many others? He did not answer. Guests started to gather. Tension increased. The bride's family arrived and asked what was happening. Margarita showed the photos to her father. He read the dates and understood immediately. The wedding was stopped completely. The groom was asked to leave. He tried to explain, but no one listened. One of his relatives took his phone. A lawyer was contacted. Within an hour, the marriage registration was cancelled before finalization. The contract had not been officially recorded yet because a final signature was scheduled for the next day. This prevented legal complications. The next day, Margarita and I went to the police station. She filed a report. His identity was investigated. It was discovered that he used 3 different identities in 3 cities. He had fraud cases in 2 companies. He changed names to avoid detection. He was arrested 3 days later in another city. He tried to escape but failed. His accounts were frozen. Margarita cut all contact. She returned to her family home. She started therapy. It took months for her to stabilize. I stayed with her for some time. I ended the relationship completely. I gave all the information I had to the police. I changed my phone number. I moved to another neighborhood. 6 months later, a preliminary sentence was issued against him with several years in prison for forgery and fraud. Other victims were called to testify. The number was higher than I expected. The last time I saw Margarita, she was working in a new company in Milan. She said she would not marry soon. She focused only on her work. I returned to my daily life. I work and live, and I avoid unclear relationships. Everything became direct for me, either full clarity or nothing.